Recording
the
in
California
progress.
Massage Therapy Council. It's great to see you all. Of course, I can't see all of you because some of you aren't on video. Anyways, we would like to call this meeting to order, and I'd like a roll call to establish a quorum.
Yes, sir. Mike Callaghan.
Present.
Mark Dixon.
Present.
Shayna Faber.
Present.
Heather Forshe.
Present.
Sarah Frazier.
Present.
Jennifer Gonzalez.
Present.
Michael Marylander.
Present.
Bernadette Murray.
Present.
Stephanie Powell.
Present.
Martha Soffer.
Present.
Jeff Foreman.
Here.
All board members are present. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. So let's go over the rules of debate. Only one item on the floor is discussed at a time. Only one person speaks at a time. The person introducing the item, the person speaking for or against the item, or the person asking or answering a question or raising a point of order. Side conversations are out of order. Directors debating a motion will have 2 minutes to speak, once on each motion, with 3 from supporting and opposing sides, at which time the motion will go to a vote. The board may vote to extend time for debate. When you want to speak, raise your hand, and there's a little thing on the bottom of your Zoom screen to raise your hand. And a question is not an occasion to make an argument. So now I would like to get into any members of the public that are there that would like to introduce themselves. Or any members on the Zoom that would like to introduce themselves.
I see Dr. Persinger raising her hand. I'm going to ask her to unmute her microphone. Go ahead.
Good morning. Deborah Persinger, Executive Director of the Federation of State Massage Therapy Boards, in attendance this morning. Thank you.
Welcome, Deborah. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff.
I also see Kimberly Austin, and I'm asking her to unmute. Go ahead.
I think I was asked again to unmute, so I think.
Oops, sorry, doctor. Your names are jumping around on my screen. Kimberly, you should be unmuted.
Okay, is there anyone else?
Yes.
Mr. Chair, I've got my hand raised. This is Mike Callaghan.
Okay, Mike.
Hey, I'm just curious as to the rules of debate, where they came from, and I'm wondering if we can go off those rules and follow the rules of the Robert's Rules of Orders, where we can have a lively, transparent debate without the back and forths of a yes, no vote. I mean, I think transparency of the board is paramount. I'm not sure where those rules came from, Jeff. So I'm just wondering and appealing to the board, should we change those to give everybody an opportunity to speak on an issue in an intelligent and somewhat, certainly confined manner. I'm not saying we give everybody a half hour, but I think it's important that we have transparency.
Well, I don't know where those rules came from, to be honest with you, but these are the rules we've been following, and I'd have to defer to our attorneys in regards to that question.
Jeff,
Allison,
can you hear me?
or Jill? Yes, Jill.
Those rules, I think, were developed by Mike Schroeder years ago, and it was a board action, I believe, to institute those. So it would take another motion to change those.
Well, I'd like to make a motion for today, at least, that we dispense with those rules, and then we can bring it back to the board to change the policy in the next board meeting, ongoing basis.
Well, let's get on with our meeting now.
I'll second that
You
motion.
can bring that up later. We have other business to attend to at this point in time. So,
Well,
it's not on the agenda. And so
Yes,
we
I would
need to
say that,
follow-
pardon,
Bernadette, we need to follow the agenda, so we can put this on the agenda for next meeting.
right, but this board motion would precede the agenda so that it would guide the rules of debate during the agenda. So it doesn't really suit it to be put down at the bottom of this agenda.
Well,
Actually, you guys, the rules of debate are on the agenda. It's item 2B.
right. Yes, I agree, Joe.
Then can we move that up so we can get it at the top of the agenda so we can set the rules of debate for the entire agenda?
I would second that.
okay,
Jeff,
I'd like to move forward with our
Jeff,
agenda
Jeff,
as it exists, please.
Jeff,
Yes,
I'm sorry, I have a problem raising a hand. I just want to, for context, this is Amos, the CEO. As part of the rules of debates, the board has the ability to anytime to suspend rule of debates, and we've done it before. So if any board members want to suspend rule of debates for the entire meeting or for 10 minutes or whatever, it is an integral part of the rules of debate. So suspending the rules of debate is part of the rules that the board adopted. So it is, possible for the board to do.
okay, I'd prefer to do it item by item, not for the whole meeting. Just so if there's a specific item that we need to extend them, then we can do that. But I just don't want to filibuster on every meeting. We'll be here till 10 o'clock tonight.
Well,
So-
I mean,
Agenda.
with all due respect, I think there's a motion and a second on this to move it up and hear this matter now. So I would ask you to respect that rule of order. And let's take it to the vote of the board. I do think it's important that we have transparency in all our board matters and that everyone gets the opportunity and who has the responsibility also to fully debate issues, whether it takes us to 10 o'clock tonight or till tomorrow, is irrelevant. We're obligated to act as board members in a proper way and to fully engage in this board. And so that's why I'm asking that it moved up, Mr. Chair.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. So let's have someone speaking for. Mike, you already spoke. Bernadette, you already spoke for it. Anyone against this? Mark Dixon.
I'll speak in opposition to the motion because we have in place a working policy of suspending rules of debate whenever it's called for, and then returning to rules of debate after the discussion is complete. That allows a transparent exchange of ideas between the members of the board. And it also ensures that we don't have, as we've already had, interruptions and crosstalk during the processing of an item. I think it's an orderly way of doing business, and it's worked pretty well for 14 years. I'd like to continue in that way. As you mentioned, Jeff, item by item. I'm complete.
Is there anyone else, a third person speaking for this motion?
I see Charla and Sarah both raising their hands.
Okay, Charla.
I just would like to confirm what the motion is exactly. If somebody could repeat it and who first and seconded.
The motion right now is to to bring the rules of debate to the forefront so that we can debate whether we suspend what we typically do and allow everyone the opportunity to speak on a motion or on an item on this agenda. To me, that again, that's a responsibility of the board. But right now, it's to move it up and to hear that matter now, which really we're at anyhow, which is 2B.
Okay, and who else had their hand raised?
I do.
Go ahead.
I think that this is Heather Forshee. I think that there are a lot of really important topics before the board today. We have a lot of new members, and there are going to be a lot of questions. And I think that suspending the traditional rules of debate that we have used in the past, I think will afford a lot more robust discussion and provide members with opportunities to weigh in more freely.
Okay. Any public comments on this? Hearing none?
No, I'm sorry, Dr. Foreman, you have to give me a moment because I have to change screens when you're checking on the public.
Okay.
There's an individual named Andrew that has his hand raised. I'm gonna ask him to unmute.
Andrew?
I'm Andrew Garston. I am a member of the California Massage Envy Franchise Association, and I'm here to observe and possibly contribute. By the way, those rules for debate come from Robert's rules.
Just point of clarity. Yeah, what I'm talking about does come from Robert's rules. You're right.
Thank you. Okay, then I call for a vote, please.
And just to be clear, Mr. Chairman, this is to suspend the rules of debate for this meeting
Okay.
and follow the
Mike?
Robert's rules. Yes.
Mike Callaghan, yes. Okay, Mark Dixon,
Nay.
Shayna Faber,
No.
Heather Forshee,
Yes.
Sarah Fraser,
Abstain.
Jennifer Gonzalez,
Yes.
Michael Marylander,
No.
Bernadette Murray,
Yes.
Stephanie Powell,
Nay.
Martha Soffer,
No.
Jeff Foreman,
No.
6 noes, 5 yes.
Okay, so the motion
And
doesn't
One
carry.
abstain.
One abstention, yeah.
One abstention, yeah. Okay, so now let's move on with our agenda. Approval of minutes from November 29th, 2022. Bernadette,
I'd like to make the motion to approve the minutes from November the 29th, 2022. The only reason why I'm separating out the minutes is because there's some people who weren't at every meeting. And may I ask a question of clarification to our general counsel?
You need a second.
Okay.
I'll second.
Thank you, Mark. Jill, do we need 6 in order to be able to approve the minutes?
6 yes votes.
Yes.
If we have 11 here, yes.
Okay. Okay.
we have to vote on each set of minutes individually. Okay, so that's what we're doing.
Yes, and I just moved for the first set of minutes. Thank you.
And Mark
Okay.
seconded. So
Yes.
let's have a vote, please.
Yeah, and I want to call everyone's attention. I provided the wrong number of yes votes on the last vote, which it should be 4, not 5. My apologies for that. And for the vote to approve the minutes, Mike Callaghan,
Yes.
Mark Dixon,
Yes.
Shayna Faber,
Yes.
Heather Forshee,
Yes.
Sarah Fraser,
Yes.
Jennifer Gonzalez,
I believe I can. I just want to make sure. It would be a yes if it is solely the last meeting, and I just want to clarify that. If not, then I have to abstain.
That sounds like an abstention because you weren't at this meeting. Thank you.
Michael Marylander,
Yes.
Bernadette Murray,
Yes.
Stephanie Powell,
Abstain.
Martha Soffer,
Abstain.
Jeff Foreman.
Yes.
8 yeses, 3 abstains.
Thank you. And now the minutes from November 29th, 2022.
Believe,
No, that's the
Yeah.
ones we just did, Mark, I thought.
yes, you
I'm
just,
sorry, May
Yeah,
4th,
May 4th.
May 4th, 2023. Sorry.
I'll move
approve.
to, oh, I'll second. Did you get that, Charla?
Who initiated the motion? I'm sorry.
Mark Dixon,
That's
and
what
I
I thought.
second.
Thank you. Thank you.
Are we ready for a vote?
No? Does anybody have any corrections or changes?
If not, let's vote.
Mike Callaghan,
Yes.
Mark Dixon,
Yes,
Shayna Faber,
Yes.
Heather Forshy,
Yes,
Sarah Fraser,
Abstain?
Jennifer Gonzalez,
Abstain.
Michael Marylander,
Abstain.
Bernadette Murray,
Yes,
Stephanie Powell,
Abstain.
Martha Soffer,
Abstain.
Jeff Foreman.
Yes,
6 yes, 5 abstain.
okay. Thank you. And now October 11th, 2023.
Mr. Chairman, I move to table consideration of the October 11 minutes pending review and amendments at the next meeting of the board to bring them into agreement with the record.
Okay. And do it. Anyone second that, please?
Might help if I explain why. I was not at that meeting, so I listened to the recording. And as I listened to the recording, I found areas where the minutes did not reflect what occurred during the meeting. So since I only received them last week, I want to have adequate time to fully review the recording and make sure that the minutes are matching the recording.
Okay. I'll second that. And any discussion? Speaking for or against postponing this approval till next meeting?
Yeah, I'll speak against it. This is very unusual, highly unusual. The minutes don't reflect every word that's captured in the extent that one of our board members missed a meeting. I don't know how they can possibly understand what was said or
Can we do the
the
roll
full
call?
context, the full
Yeah,
context.
sure.
So,
And I'm going to quickly remind.
so I don't understand how that motion could be made. And like I said, it's very unusual.
Well, the purpose, I'll speak in favor of the motion. The purpose of
I
voting
thought
on the
you,
motion.
excuse
the
me,
purpose-
Mark, I thought you already spoke in favor of the motion.
No, I didn't. I introduced the motion.
And then
but
you explained
I've
it.
not spoken in favor of the motion. The reason we call up for a vote on the minutes is to make sure that the minutes are matching what actually occurred. In this case, they don't. There were a couple of instances. In one case, well, I won't go into details, but there were instances where, as a matter of factual error, they should be corrected before the minutes are approved. The amount of time between receiving the draft minutes and this morning was inadequate to allow a thorough review of the recording. And I want to reserve that opportunity. I'll take it on to make sure that the minutes we're approving actually match what took place. It's not a matter of recording every word of what occurred. It's a matter of congruence between what occurred and what was reported in the minutes. I'm complete.
Okay. Anyone speaking against this? Bernadette?
I would ask when the recording was actually posted, because I had been looking for it and several times, and usually it's posted about 4 weeks after the meeting. And so was it just posted this 2 days ago?
No, the draft came out 2 days ago.
And the recording was posted on the website?
I don't know if it was on the website. I received it a few days after the meeting. I've not looked for it on the website.
Oh, okay.
Anyone else?
So
Was that a point of information or a statement in opposition?
I'll just leave it at that. It was a point of information because my understanding was that that the audio was supposed to be posted on the website as soon as possible after the meeting. And I perhaps you were able to ask for the recording, and that's why you received it very shortly after the meeting. I will not debate this further. Thank you.
Anyone else have anything to add to this discussion?
Mark, Jeff, this is Jill. Mark, feel free to call me before the next meeting and go over it, and I can do a red line of any changes that you want to propose for the next meeting.
Happy to. Thank you.
Thank you. So I guess we need to vote on this issue. Any public comments before we vote? Seeing no raised hands, let's have a vote, please.
Mike Callaghan,
Abstain.
Mark Dixon,
In favor, yes.
Shayna Faber,
Yes.
Heather Forshee.
Point of clarification, I'm voting to delay even though I was not at the meeting.
Yes, that you
I
can
don't
do.
need to abstain. Correct?
That's correct.
Okay,
One
I vote
need not be at
yes.
the meeting
Yeah.
to vote for the motion.
yes, we can delay it.
That's a yes, Heather, correct? Okay, thank you. Sarah Fraser,
Yes.
Jennifer Gonzalez,
Abstain?
Michael Marylander,
Yes.
Bernadette Murray,
Abstain.
Stephanie Powell,
Yes.
Martha Soffer,
Abstain.
Jeff Foreman.
Yes. Mike? You had your hand raised?
No, it's for the next item. I've got a slate of officers, so it's just for the next item.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right, and I'm gonna shift things up a little bit. We're gonna go, because we have guests from out of town, we're around the country, an issue that is a national crisis for our industry. And I need Joe Bob to introduce this, something that's going to affect massage schools and this industry throughout the country, not only in California. It's a very, very important thing, a ruling by the Department of Education that will affect funding for schools. And Joe Bob, please take it away.
Thank you, Dr. Foreman. So this is it's a complicated issue and it's wide ranging, and I've outlined some points here to try to make it as simple as possible. So thank you for your time and patience in allowing me to paint a picture of what's going on. So on October 31st, the Federal Department of Education issued new regulations that have the potential to devastate massage therapy education and ultimately the massage profession nationwide. These regulations are final and set to become effective July 1st of next year, 2024. They impact all vocational programs that offer Title IV federal financial aid, not just massage programs. But since massage is our focus, let me put it in some perspective. One estimate stated that this will affect about 350 massage therapy schools nationally. That's roughly 1/3 of all massage schools in the country. Here in California, that percentage is even higher. About half of our approved schools, roughly 45% of our approved schools, offer Title IV financial aid. And since those schools are generally larger, they account for well over half of all massage therapy students in California. So imagine a situation where less than a year from now, the massage profession in California has half the number of massage schools and over half as many massage graduates. It's a scary thought. So what happened? Well, currently, programs that offer Title IV financial aid are allowed to be 150% of their state's minimum requirements for that profession. As an example, if a state regulates massage therapy with a minimum requirement of 500 hours, then a Title IV massage program currently could be 750 hours. This is a situation that occurs in many states right now. Under the new regulations that take effect in July, Title IV programs are limited to 100% of their state's minimum requirements. So using our example, in a state where the minimum massage requirement is 500 hours, these 750-hour programs can only be 500 hours. So not only would reducing a school's hours from 750 to 500 in a matter of months create significant and potentially insurmountable obstacles for schools, but the threshold for the key components of Title IV financial aid start at 600 hours. Thus, these regulations would force a large percentage of massage programs in this country to significantly reduce their hours to a level below the primary threshold to be able to offer Title IV financial aid. This deprives these programs, many of which have been operating for decades, of access to federal financial aid and significantly limits opportunities for potential massage students who rely on financial aid to attend massage school. Some schools will be able to adapt, many won't. Many students will be affected. Fewer massage schools means less access to schools. Lack of financial aid means fewer students able to afford massage school. For the students who do attend these shorter programs, there will be less opportunity for advanced education in massage, and the massage profession, which is already suffering from a lack of massage therapists, now faces a future of even fewer new therapists, and the new therapists that remain will have less training. So the DOA chose to use the minimum requirements set by states as the de facto hours that students need to be employed in a profession. But as we know, the minimum requirements set by the states have nothing to do with employability. These minimum requirements are established for the purpose of public protection. How many hours does a massage therapist need to safely work on the public? I'm not aware of any cases where working therapists or employers were consulted to determine if these minimum number of hours were realistic measures of employability. And in a state like California that's so vast and diverse, the number of hours you would need to be considered employable are going to vary from area to area. Some areas may have lower entry level to the massage profession, whereas in areas with high concentrations of luxury resorts and spas, for example, they may have a significantly higher threshold of hours for employment. So this one-size-fits-all approach doesn't work. It's based on a number that wasn't intended for that purpose. It eliminates access for financial aid to potential students. It pulls the financial rug out from under quality programs and gives those programs, their students, and those of us who regulate them, only a few months to adapt. Vocational schools are vital not just to the massage profession, but to our economy as a whole. They provide millions of people the opportunity to learn a trade and obtain work without the time and expense of a college degree. So what's next? Well, I've been in touch with various stakeholders over the last few weeks since these final regulations were published. Schools all over the country are weighing their options. Right now, the effort is focused on reversing or at least delaying this new rule. A congressman from Pennsylvania has introduced an amendment that would eliminate funding for this specific provision. Who knows where that will go? Other groups have suggested raising minimum massage requirements to at least 600 hours so that programs could continue to access Title IV funding, but this requires legislative action in most states, and it's neither fast nor guaranteed. It also moves these hours away from their original purpose of public protection. So no doubt there are, excuse me, are also schools considering legal action. If this section of the new regulations is not stopped or delayed, schools will have to quickly pivot in the new year. Some schools will close or eliminate their massage programs entirely. Others will have to jump through all the necessary hoops of changing their programs and operations. The entire massage profession, not just Title IV schools, but all schools, those who regulate them, massage establishments, prospective students, and ultimately massage clients will feel the wake of these changes. But now that I've thoroughly depressed you, there is a silver lining. Late Tuesday, we received word from the Department of Education. They concurred that CAMTC's voluntary certification would not cause a massage program to be subject to the limitations of this new rule. They stated that, and I quote, "Those limitations only apply when there is a legal requirement in the state establishing entry-level requirements for the occupation." With that, our CMTC-approved schools that offer Title IV financial aid can breathe a sigh of relief. CMTC believed all along that the new regulations did not apply to our approved schools, and we are ecstatic, to say that in the least, that the DOE agrees with us. Nonetheless, other states and the massage profession nationwide continue to grapple with this potentially devastating issue. CMTC does not operate in a bubble. Though we may have averted the crisis here with our schools, we must redirect and determine how this national issue will continue to impact us and what we can do to help our fellow states and massage therapists everywhere. Unfortunately, even though we're happier today than we were 2 days ago here in California, this will not be the last that you'll hear on this matter. I thank you for your time, and I'll turn it over to Amos for his thoughts and then answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Joe Bob. Amos?
Thank you, Joe Bob. So, needless to say, the last 4 weeks has been very, very stressful, and we've been fully engaged on this issue. Just to reiterate, originally when we asked the Department of Education on this issue and raised this issue, the initial response was, no, it'll apply to everybody and it'll apply to California as well. And we engage in an effort to elevate it to a higher authority in Department of Education. Again, so everybody understand, we're talking about the Federal Department of Education, not California. And as Joe Bob mentioned, late Tuesday night, we received a formal response that they concur that this will not apply. And the main reason is that their regulations says that it applies to instances where the state certification and state licensing require certain amount of hours, and they concurred that our certification is not state certification, because CMTC, and they put it in the letter that CMTC is not the state of California. This is why they say that that will not apply, and our schools, at least at this moment, do not have to be to follow this rule. Now, one issue I want to mention, and that is the reason this is such an important issue, in addition to what Joe Bob mentioned earlier, is our Massage Therapy Act reflects at the beginning of the act the very specific mindset and what it's called the intent of the legislature. Like, why did they even create that act? And I'd like to call your attention to section 4600.5 of the Business of Profession Code. And under that section, section A, it talks about it is the intent of the legislature that this act, and then it goes like, will enable consumer and local government to be more easily identified certified massage professionals. I'm going to fast forward here, but then it says to ensure that schools approved by the councils that are teaching massage provide a high level of training. So even though what we have here in California is we're able to certify people, with only 500 hours of training, we do support reflecting the legislative intent that our schools do provide high level of training. And that is why it was so important to us to address these issues, so these schools can continue to do what they've been doing for such a long period of time. And I do believe that we have people from California and from around the country that would like to address the board in regard to this issue. Mr. Chair, I see that.
Andrew, you had your hand raised. Thank you.
Well, I first want to just sing the praises of how effective CMTC has been in representing California, and also to express my gratitude that the structure that we have in our state allows us to sort of bypass these issues, and to let you all know that I have a strong participation with the National Franchise Association, the Envy Owners Association, and I'm going to be raising this issue with them and making sure that that we're engaged in this issue and trying to resolve it, because as has been expressed, this is a existential issue across the country, and everything that happens in the country impacts us here in California. So anyway, thank you again. Very, very grateful.
And now, Dr. Persinger, would you care to add your perspective to this?
Thank you. I just had to get unmuted. So, I don't participate this morning with a solution. It certainly is aptly described as a national crisis. The Federation takes the position that it definitely has negative consequences, and that reaches out to the end of the conveyor belt with depleting the workforce. This is not just an immediate issue of channeling emerging professionals into massage education, but the consequences, the workforce issue. We don't, as Joe Bob said, it was depressing news, but I was really delighted that to hear that there's a silver lining, at least in California. We don't let the negative consequences depress our sense of the possible. So what I can tell you is that this is very fresh news and still formulating, but the Federation board, at least at the national level, has voted to convene a task force to explore massage therapy education. It's a very broad charge. This is so new that the details and the specific charges for this task force have not been formulated yet. And it's not going to look at only this 150% or new 100% rule, but massage education in general. What we're seeing from across the country are myriad different responses and reactions. Some states are seeing it as an opportunity to increase their hours. By way of an example, in Tennessee, they just introduced a bill, I think it was last week, to increase their hours from 500 to 650. So that's one remedy. What we know from surveying nationally, many schools, like more than 70, I think 75% of schools, are actually teaching or offering programs well above their state minimum. And that's what one would expect, because regulation is, the lowest common denominator for entry into a profession or the provision to provide education. We're not trying to keep everybody at the lowest standard possible. And because states cannot restrain trade, and I'm including educators and schools in the term trade, that's why it's the lowest. It's not necessarily the optimal. And so using the Massage and Bodywork Licensing Exam, the MBLEX, otherwise known as MBLEX, what we know in terms of looking at candidate performance across the nation is that the what I'll call the sweet spot of performance is actually the peak performance on the MBLEX is those who have an education between 600 and 650 hours. And one might use linear logic and say if people have less than that, they will perform less well on the entry-level competence exam. But interestingly, well, to me, interestingly, those schools with more than the 650 hours do not perform better. So it's not necessarily a linear correlation. So I think the 625 hours that came out of the entry-level massage project that was a work product of the 7 national organizations had the recommendation of the 625 hours. So coincidentally, likely more by good luck than good management, it looks like this is the optimal hourly rate, at least in the regulatory community. And so I think that's why some states are looking to, find a silver lining, as Joe Bob said, and look to increase their hours is probably the most predominant solution. Compounding that, the Federation received an affirmative directive from the membership on a resolution to require course completion for access to the MBLEX. That has been put on hold, which was one of the the impetus for convening this education exploration task force. And clearly CAMTC as a member of the Federation would be participating in that. But it's complicated matters. And so it's likely that will be on hold a lot longer. We're not going to forge ahead while, we have this national crisis on our hands and deal with what was proposed by Washington State. So we've been in contact with CAMTC, the Commission on Massage Therapy Education, AMTA and ABMP. Interestingly, CAMTC has declared that they are not in a position to comment. That's all we have from CAMTC was just that statement. So I'll be curious, and obviously we'll pursue the rationale for that. All but 2, CAMTC has, I think, 58 accredited massage programs, and all but 2 are impacted by this rule. So my guess or speculation is that they ultimately will be able to make a statement, but we're all in shock mode. I literally thought Halloween, October 31st, that my staff were playing a trick on me rather than a treat, but turns out it was true, and we're just in the mode of triaging actually and gathering information so that we don't make hasty, irrational recommendations and certainly not decisions. So
Thank you, Deborah, for your analysis and your information. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
And now, Mark Dixon, do you have something you wanted to add?
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, I think it calls for action immediately by the board. Before Joe Bob was complete with his remarks, I crafted a motion as follows: to direct the CEO to work closely with the American Massage Therapy Association, the Federation of State Massage Therapy Boards, and other interested stakeholders with respect to the Department of Education's recent edict so that educational standards are protected.
Okay. I'll second that.
Thank you. I think Joe Bob's, Andrews, and Deborah Persinger's comments speak well in support of this motion. And I think there's no time to waste. This is urgent. It is fresh. And I think we should ask our CEO to continue developing strong relationships with all of our stakeholders toward this end. I'm complete.
Anyone speaking against this motion? Anyone else speaking for? Public comments.
There are 3 individuals with raising their hands. First one is Bill.
Bill, go ahead, unmute yourself, Bill.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Members of the board of CAMTC, Amos, and all of the guests present, my name is Bill Armour, and I'm the CEO of Burke Williams. We operate 11 spa locations throughout California and employ over 800 CAMTC certified massage therapists. My comments are as follows. I want, first of all, to thank CAMTC for their concentrated efforts to keep this edict of the Federal Department of Education from taking hold in California. Without question, the results would have been devastating for the entirety of the massage industry, with most, if not all, of the accredited Title IV funded massage schools having to close. While the representatives of these schools can speak more clearly as to why that would be the result, I can assure you that companies like Burke Williams that depend on the pipeline of quality massage therapists graduating would suffer a tremendous blow. This, in the most simple terms, is an employment and jobs issue. And once again, you can be assured that jobs would have been devastated in the California massage industry. I also want to be clear that this battle is not over and remains significant. Although, and thankfully so, CAMTC is a private non-for-profit that does a tremendous job keeping professional standards high, the other 49 states are not as fortunate. Those with expansion plans that include hiring licensed massage therapists, where massage licensing laws are dictated by government, will find the same situation that could have happened here. The new pipeline of licensed massage therapists will take a tremendous blow. We, the business owners that employ thousands of certified massage therapists, will now find the pipeline of out-of-state massage therapists to be negatively impacted. And so in closing, I encourage CAMTC to engage with national organizations such as AMTA and work together as a combined force to do everything possible to stop an idea that serves no purpose other than to potentially devastate a national industry. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Anyone else with the hands raised?
Yes, sir. The next one is named James Specker.
Thank you. James, go ahead.
Good morning. Sorry about that. I didn't know if you guys could see me on the call, but thank you for your time. When I was asked to first make a public comment on this issue, California was in a different place, obviously, and we are, pleased to hear, as others have communicated, that the ruling came back favorably for you all. That said, I'm not going to get into the weeds on what everybody said, but I can give an update since Joe Bob mentioned it. So the amendment that he was talking about from Representative Smucker in Pennsylvania that would have eliminated the funding to implement this new ruling is all but dead, and this is coming from Representative Smucker's chief of staff. They are in the process of looking at introducing a standalone bill, but we all know in an election year that that's probably not going to happen, given only 1% of bills nationwide pass every year anyway. But I do want to, just commend Mark for your motion. Really, the crux of my comment was, while we continue to navigate this issue, it is critical that the industry begin to collaborate in looking at ways to establish research-based educational benchmarks. I'm glad that Dr. Persinger mentioned that FSMTV is convening a workforce around this issue. We need to develop and evaluate educational standards state by state and create uniform standards of practice, for which AMTA has begun that work. But no one organization can do any of these things alone. We are calling on all organizations to work together. And again, we are pleased that CAMTC will join in this effort. Because one thing I can tell you candidly, and this is not coming from AMTA, that in the last 9 years since I've been here, almost every agency of oversight, be it DOE, the VA, Health and Human Services, are keenly aware and have communicated on the lack of research-based standards and disjointness of education in our industry. So we look forward to working with you all and developing these standards while the organizations, and I know ABMP and FSMTV take this seriously, and doing what we can to in the short term to at least, if nothing else, delay the implementation of this new rule. to give schools some time to adjust. And I'll leave it at that since, all of the major points were already discussed. And I appreciate your time again.
Thank you, James. Is there anyone else that has their hands raised?
Yes, sir. There's two more. The next one is Paula Curtis.
Paula, unmute yourself, please. Thank you.
Hi, somebody nod if you can hear me. I'm not sure if I'm mine. Okay, great. Thank you. First of all, I very much thank you, the CAMTC, for actually creating the uniformity in the state that we so needed for so many years. I'm the director and owner of Healing Hand School. We have 3 locations: San Diego, Escondido, and Laguna Hills, Orange County. Joe Bob, thank you so much for taking this seriously. As you know, you and I and my husband spoke with you, very concerned about this issue because it's an existential crisis for every school, really. And so I'm hearing that it sounds like we will be able to mitigate this ruling and how it impacts a massage therapy program. But as stated, the massage therapy program is usually working on the minimal requirement. And this ruling will effectively kill the advanced work that so many of our schools do, as was stated. So looking forward, it sounds like the CAMTC and ABMP and AMTA are going to work very hard in California to increase the minimum standard to 600 hours so that Title IV schools can participate. However, I'm concerned about the advanced work, and I wonder if people are considering the possibility of a two-tiered system where the state mandates a 600-hour massage therapy program and a 1,000-hour holistic health practitioner program, as was very common in many of the cities before there was a CAMTC. And if we're going to go to if we have to go to the state legislature to change something, I would like us to really consider the very advanced work. As we know, the big superstars in advanced work, like the John Barnes people and the Thomas Myers people and those folks, they don't want to deal with schools anymore because it's too hard to do our job. So they want to come in and do their really great work in what I call more of a roadshow situation. But it means that none of the advanced work is really, nobody's really looking at it from a standard. And so it feels like it's going to get lost if somebody in our industry doesn't say, hey, the advanced manipulation work, structural integration, myofascial, the really advanced work is worthy and it should be recognized as such.
Thank you, Paula. Appreciate your comments. And anyone else raising their hand?
Sir, the next is Tim Weitzer.
Hi, Tim.
Mr. Chair, are we sticking to 2 minutes for public comment?
No, this is such an important issue. We're letting people have a little bit more say.
Oh, I didn't realize we took a vote on that.
Go ahead.
Hi, this is Tim Weitzer, one of the co-owners of National Holistic Institute, the first accredited and largest massage school in California. And I second much of what was said. This was an existential crisis that was averted in California, but certainly the other states, had we been operating elsewhere, would have had to reconsider and likely been in big trouble. I just want to underscore, even if we were to move to 600 hours, that would only qualify schools to receive 75% of federal financial aid. A full program school program length is 800 hours. And although you could get Pell Grants and you could get loans, it would be only up to 75%. And as Joe Bob mentioned, the 500-hour minimum, even 600 hours, might be able to prepare somebody to pass the NBLEX or for safety for entry level. It doesn't speak to employability. It doesn't speak to the quality of therapists. And as the last caller mentioned, higher level of education in providing the best possible massage therapists out there is certainly what our school is all about, and advancing the profession in such a way. So I actually feel like the comment of having a 600-hour tier, so at least the minimum can be where a school can at least qualify for some financial aid would be helpful. Having another tier that could be considered entry level for medical massage or holistic healthcare practitioner at 1,000 hours would be a big step forward. And so I'll look forward to connecting with the leadership of CAMTC moving forward to see if we can make that possible. And that could guard ourselves from further legislative action like this moving forward. But I'm thrilled that through CAMTC's structure, we were able to avert a major crisis here. And I'm very concerned, that this will profoundly affect the industry as a whole nationwide, and something that, even though it's not here in California, we're going to push hard to help what we can to have a stay or an injunction on this legislation nationwide. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. Anyone else?
Bernadette has her hand raised.
Okay. Thank you. Bernadette?
Actually, I just had a question about in terms of the 150% rule. It's not, does that, in the determination that we got from the Department of Education in the letter, does it actually say that schools in California will be able to continue to have funding up to 150%?
Joe Bob?
Excuse me. It doesn't said there would be no limit, because the new limit right now would be 100% if the state regulates. But since it does not, then there would be it would be between the schools and the department to determine what the school is offering.
Thank you for that clarification.
Thank you. Anyone else with their hand raised?
No.
Okay, then could you repeat the original motion, please?
Yes,
Mark?
yes. To direct the CEO to work closely with the American Massage Therapy Association, the Federation of State Massage Therapy Boards, and other interested stakeholders with respect to the Department of Education's recent edict, so that educational standards are protected. End of motion.
Okay, let's have a vote, please.
Mike Callaghan.
Yes.
Mark Dixon.
Yes.
Shayna Faber.
Yes.
Heather Forshe.
Yes.
Sarah Fraser.
Yes.
Jennifer Gonzalez.
Yes.
Michael Marylander.
Yes.
Bernadette Murray.
Yes.
Stephanie Powell.
Yes.
Martha Soffer.
Yes.
Jeff Foreman.
Yes. The motion carries. And now I'd like to go to number 17, and I guess that was Mike Callaghan's put that on the agenda. Number 17,
Right.
FSMTB.
I appreciate that, Mr. Chair. I originally put this on to ask this board to consider the withdrawal of CAMTC from the Federation, given Mr. Dixon's letter and the import of that letter. And in his letter, he indicated that the reasons that he was concerned were the preparedness of the delegates to deliberate, the unprecedented departure from established procedures, the process of a fair election, the willingness of leadership to follow its own rules of order, and transparency. Since I put that on and contemplating where we're at right now, he could have been writing about CAMTC right now. So given that, I'm going to go ahead and withdraw that item from the agenda.
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate that. And so now, let's go to number 4, election of officers.
Mr. Chairman.
I've got a slate. I'd like to.
I was
Mark,
first.
go
I
ahead.
was first. I move to elect the following slate to the positions noted. Myself as chairman, Jeffrey Foreman as vice chairman, Mike Marylander as treasurer, and Shayna Faber as secretary.
Thank you.
I'll second.
I've got a substitute slate.
Okay,
I would propose that we have Heather Forshee as the chair, Bernadette Murray as the vice chair, Sarah Fraser as the treasurer, and Chief Gonzalez as the secretary.
I second.
okay. So, Jill, can I have a point of clarification, please? With 2 motions on the table, I'd like you to handle this since I am listed on one of the slates. Would you please take over these elections?
Yeah, I believe we now have to vote on the substitute motion.
Okay,
Well, let me speak in favor of it then. I think we've had a long history of discrimination against women on this board in these elected positions. If you look back, we really haven't had any substantive representation. Heather Forshee is exemplary. She comes to every meeting prepared. She runs a large organization with a large budget. She understands this organization. She is incredible. Bernadette Murray, there's no one more prepared than Bernadette when it comes to this organization. She catches every little thing that's out there. Sarah Fraser has had really no voice on this board whatsoever. And Chief Gonzalez obviously has the integrity necessary to serve in this capacity on this executive board. These positions are extremely important to this organization. We need independent, unbiased people who will do what's right for this organization, not for an individual in this organization, but for this organization. These people haven't had a chance. Heather has been on the board longer than I think anyone continuously on this board, yet she's never had a chance to rotate through the chairs. Bernadette has established herself and deserves a chance in that role. Historically, we all know that in the past, the executive director has contacted us all and told us who he thinks that we should vote for in order, I think, to put certain people in power. That has got to stop. That has got to stop. We need independent thinkers who will be loyal to this organization and not an individual.
okay, thank you, Mike. Anyone speaking against this?
I will. Mark Dixon. Of the 5 chair people we've had on the board, 2 have been female. So I'd have to disagree that they've been discriminated against. And it's a shame that Heather is not a certified massage therapist because I think she'd make a great chairman. But it's critical to the legislature, massage schools, trade associations, law enforcement, employers, and especially the massage professionals, that a certified massage therapist leads the organization. That's the way it's been since we started. We've always had massage therapists chairing the board or on the board, and both. If you look at nearly all the regulatory boards in California, their chairs are part of the profession they serve. I think that concludes my remarks.
Thank you. Anyone else speaking for the motion? Bernadette?
I will speak in favor of the motion. I appreciate very much what Mark is saying about that there have been last 14 years that CAMTC has been in existence, that there have been 2 female chairs. One of them was for less than 10 months, and the other was for only 2 years. And so that means the rest of the time, which is 11, that's 11 years that we have had a male chair overseeing a profession that is that consists of 81% or 80% in that neighborhood of female practitioners. And I do think that we should have a more balanced representation on our executive committee. And I also think that as we pride ourselves at CAMTC in being a unique model in terms of being a private, nonprofit, regulatory organization, we have a high degree of input from many different organizations in California that relate to protecting the public, particularly in when it comes to the practice of educating and regulating practice of massage in California. Therefore, it is actually much more inclusive, especially to have someone who has participated in this board for many years to be able to serve as chair. Thank you very much. I will stop there.
Okay, and anyone else speaking against this?
Heather has her hand up, sir.
Heather?
Hi, Jeff. Am I permitted to speak for, or do I need to read?
We won against right now.
Got it.
Sarah?
Hi, yes. I appreciate all of the things that Mike has shared. My worry is the bandwidth with very busy businesses that a lot of us are working to have the time to do the work that's necessary in these positions. And I too agree with Mark that I feel like the chairperson should be a massage therapist in the position, and from that point of view, I think that that's a very important piece of the picture here.
Thank you, Sarah. And go ahead, Heather.
Thanks. And I really appreciate the kind words from both Mike and Mark. What I will say is that being on the board for so long, I think we've all learned a lot from the prior and current board members. And I think this organization would stand to benefit from a fresh perspective and a different slate of officers than previously rotating through the board. It seems like the same group of people who are rightly passionate about this organization continue to lead the organization. I think that an alternative slate is I think it's overdue.
Okay, anyone else speaking for, excuse me, against this motion? Hearing none, then let's have a vote, please, for the substitute motion.
Mike Callaghan,
Yes.
Mark Dixon,
No.
Shayna Faber,
No.
Heather Forshee,
Yes.
Sarah Fraser,
No.
Jennifer Gonzalez,
Yes.
Michael Marylander,
No.
Bernadette Murray,
Yes.
Stephanie Powell,
No.
Martha Suffer,
No.
Jeff Foreman,
No. What are the results?
4 yeses, 7 nos.
The motion does not carry. So now let's go to the original motion made by Mark Dixon, and I think I seconded it.
I believe Shayna.
Shayna, I'm sorry. I apologize. So speaking for this motion, Shayna, would you
I'm
like
sorry.
to?
Can someone reread the original motion, please?
Yes, motion to elect the following slate to the positions noted. Mark Dixon is chairman, Jeffrey Foreman as vice chairman, Michael Marylander as treasurer, Shayna Faber as secretary.
Speaking for this motion,
I don't have anything to say on that.
thank you. And speaking against this motion.
Mr. Chair, Mr. Chair, I just want to check in. I think you requested Jill to run the election since you're on the slate.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Jill, go ahead.
Speaking for the motion.
I'll speak for the motion. The position of chair is a very time-intensive position. It requires being available by phone, email, text, and personal visits just about 7 days a week if one is willing to do so. I have been. And sometimes we have to do things turning on a dime, and we can't wait more than a day or so to make a decision or to take action on things. Being retired after 30 years as a massage professional, I have all that time I need in order to be available to the board, available to stakeholders outside CAMTC, and available to staff. I think that is one of the most important things about the chairmanship, is being available, able to respond, be nimble, and continue leading the organization on a timely basis. I'm complete.
Anyone speaking against the motion?
This is Bernadette.
Bernadette.
I will speak against the motion. I do have, and I had raised objection before, pointing out that the current chair and treasurer did not follow the board policy in the schedule of authority, in my perspective, because they did not come to the full board, and when there was an adjustment made to the budget in 2022. And I feel that this is just, that there should be at least a change in terms of in terms of having someone else in those positions, and that we should look at least modifying who is going to be serving as if we want to have a certified massage therapist as the chair. I do think that Heather could at least serve as the vice chair, and I'll leave it at that.
Anyone else in favor of the motion? Jeff?
Well, I kind of take offense at some of the comments that we are not interested in saving this organization. I have done everything to advance CAMTC, not only in the state, nationally, and you can't just say that I'm a yes man to whoever. I am an independent thinker, and I do everything to try to help this organization from every possible thing that I can do, time, energy, and decision-making processes. So I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Anyone else to speak against the motion?
I'll speak against. I think Mark and Jeff are fine human beings. I think they're good people deep down. But I think their loyalty is misplaced. And I can tell you folks that the legislature is watching everything that we do. Mark, you were in charge of the compensation study in 2018 for our executive director. There were some anomalies there in that we used employees as a base for that compensation rather than revenue. And the employee count was wildly off. This could have resulted in the miscompensation of establishment of the compensation for our executive director that may have cost this organization a lot of money. I don't know. We're gonna have to dig into that more, and I'll have more comments on that later today. I think you're a good guy, but you once told me that Ramos is indispensable, and that's not true. No one's indispensable. Your heart and soul has to be about this organization, about the people out there every day conducting massage and the safety. That's why we got into this. That's why we were appointed, not to the loyalty of an individual. Why do you think, and I'm sure that, and you can ask yourselves, if some of you were contacted on the way to vote, why were you asked to vote that way? Think about this. I was the vice chair, ran a great meeting last time. Everyone thought I ran a great meeting. Yet, I wasn't on that slate. That was kind of interesting. At that same time as the acting chair, I'm the one who told Amos he wasn't getting a bonus. Do you find that coincidental? Do you find that odd? Do you find that strange that that occurred in this form? We are here to protect the organization, not an individual. This is about people that are out there every day working in the massage industry. Like I said, I think you're fine people, but I think it's time for change. We need other people in this role. And Mark, I really take exception that, and it's quite frankly ridiculous to think that the chair has to be someone who's in the industry. We all work on different boards, and certainly we're not necessarily in that industry, but I've chaired many boards, yet I haven't been in that industry, and I think we've done a good job doing that. And certainly the legislature never contemplated that when they put this together. Thank you.
We're going to do one more round. Anyone for the motion, to speak for the motion?
Speak for the motion. If unless anybody else has not spoken, wishes to. Anybody?
Mark, didn't you already speak for the motion?
I did speak.
Yeah, I think we have. I think part of the rules of debate are nobody can speak twice.
Okay.
Correct me if I'm wrong, folks, but I think that's the.
You're right.
I think that's how we set it up years ago.
Thank you.
Is there anyone different that would like to speak for the motion that has not spoken yet? All right, hearing none, we'll stand on the two that spoke for and the two that spoke against. Let's see, Jeff, do I take public comment now?
You can.
Yeah, I think we have to, right, before we go to the vote. Sorry, I'm not used to being used to chairing this.
That's correct.
All right, John, do we have any public comment on this?
I do not see any hands raised.
Okay. Then, John, would you take a vote on this motion, please?
Mike Callaghan.
No.
Mark Dixon.
Yes.
Shayna Faber.
Yes.
Heather Forshee.
No.
Sarah Fraser.
Yes.
Jennifer Gonzalez.
No.
Michael Marylander.
Yes.
Bernadette Murray.
No.
Stephanie Powell.
Yes.
Marcus Soffer.
Yes.
Jeff Foreman.
Yes.
7 yeses. 4 noes.
Motion carries. I'll give it back to you, Jeff.
Thank you. So next we go to number 5, proposed amendments to the policies and procedures for the approval of schools. Joe Bob?
So we have, these are all just really clarifications that I worked with Allison on, their cleanup language. There's nothing here that's intended to change. Sorry, I thought I heard somebody. There's nothing here that's intended to change any policies. These are all what we have been doing. They're again just cleanup language to get consistent. You'll see, I'm sure as you've looked through them, you see a lot of red, but don't be alarmed by that. A lot of that, we eliminated some old passages that dealt with the startup language of when schools were getting approved back in 2015, 2016. Some other stuff that's out of date, and considering these policies and procedures get longer and longer each year, we felt that since these were no longer applicable, of course, they still live in the archived versions that would have applied should something ever come up at the time. So we took out a lot of language, and then the other language is clarifying. And we always think we're being clear, but as time goes on, we find people that they don't think something's clear, so then we have to go back and clarify it. But again, these are none of these are changes to the policies and procedures other than to just clarify language. Allison, you want to add anything?
No, I think you covered it well. The only thing, well, I guess I will add one thing. There was one provision where there was a typo, and we realized that it just cited to the wrong provision in the Business and Professions Code. So we did change that. That was from a previous amendment to the policies and procedures, and we just wanted to make sure that the reference was correct there. But otherwise, really, it was all just clarifying amendments, so that hopefully things would make a lot more sense to individuals who are reading them cold when they just review the document. So with that, I'm not sure how we proceed. Do we want to, Jeff, do we ask if
Yes.
people have questions?
Do we have a motion to accept these changes?
I'll make the motion.
Bernadette has her hand raised.
Oh,
Okay, Bernadette?
No, that's fine. I just wanted to give Allison a quick heads up about a very small wee typo, or just a grammar correction. But I will second Heather's motion to approve these amendments with this tiny correction, which I'm going to say now. It's on page 40 or page 31 of the memo. And on the section that says, if the school ultimately has approval suspended, that should be just, there simply should be an S and an apostrophe added to the word it on that page. And I would be happy to just copy and email that to Allison and Joe Bob for corrections.
Thank you for catching that, Bernadette. I appreciate it.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, and speaking against this motion? Okay, any public comments? Then I call for a vote.
Mike Callaghan,
Yes.
Mark Dixon,
Yes.
Shayna Faber,
Yes.
Heather Forshu,
yes.
Sarah Fraser,
Yes.
Jennifer Gonzalez,
Yes.
Michael Marylander,
Yes.
Bernadette Murray,
Yes.
Stephanie Powell,
Yes.
Martha Sucker,
Yes.
Jeff Foreman.
Yes, the motion carries. So next, we're going to talk about the Texas exam. And who proposed this one to talk about the Texas exam?
I'll give some background on this exam. So we had this on the last agenda. We have it on this one. We were hoping to be able to get somebody from the Texas Department of Licensing and Regulation. We haven't been able to coordinate schedules yet, so I don't know that there may or may not be action that the board wants to take today. But just to give a little background, so in Texas, the Texas Department of Licensing and Regulation, I believe they regulate 39 professions. So they've got their hands full. And that's just the professions they regulate. They do a lot of other stuff too. But they, for many years, they've had their own exams for many of these professions. And this last year, they added massage. So they now have their own state of Texas massage therapist exam. To be clear, they also accept the MBLEX as well. So graduates from massage schools in Texas have a choice. They can either choose the Texas exam or they can choose the MBLEX. They contract with a company called PSI, which is one of the largest exam providers. They handle all of their exams, and they were the ones who created that. I think the big difference when you look at the exams is the cost. The cost for the Texas exam is $60, and I believe the MBLEX is still at $265. So that was kind of the when I was speaking with them at the annual meeting this year, I was trying to get down to what was the purpose of going to that, and it seemed like they were looking for a lower cost, lower entry to the profession for their massage therapist. It's why they offered it. But again, they still, of course, accept the MBLEX. As you may recall, the board previously added the New York state exam. They also have their own exam. Of course, New York is 1,000 hours. New York has their own exam, and it's on CMTC's list of approved exams. And the reason that the board did this back in the day was primarily for those people who are moving from New York to California. They've already taken an exam. It met the requirements of the law. And so this way they wouldn't have to take another exam. So in the same way, we would consider doing that with the Texas exam, so that people moving from Texas to California would not have to take another exam. We would accept the results of the Texas exam. So like I said, we were unable to coordinate having someone from Texas here today. Hopefully in the future, we can have someone from Texas and possibly PSI, the testing group if needed, at a future meeting to talk more about it. But since it's been on the last agenda and this one, I just wanted to make you aware of what that agenda item was, so that you would know that there's this exam floating out there.
Joe Bob, have you heard anything about the new exam from the National Certification Board for entry-level therapists?
I certainly have heard of it. I don't have a lot of information on it.
Okay, maybe we should contact them and give them the opportunity to address the board. Yeah, I think it's probably a good idea. Okay, anyways, so that's about the Texas exam, and we'll have more information coming, hopefully with communication directly from someone in Texas. Next, number 7, proposed amendments to the employee handbook.
Hi, Jeff. Thank you. There's just 2 amendments. I was alerted that paydays were different than it says in the handbook. So that's one of the changes you can see there in your board packet. And the other one is that starting on January 1, there's a new requirement for reproductive loss leave. So those are just 2 amendments that need to be done.
Okay. And do we have a motion to approve these amendments?
I'll make the motion.
And who is that? Shayna?
Jennifer Gonzalez making a motion to
Jennifer,
approve the
okay.
amendments as stated.
And I'm seconding the motion.
Great. And speaking for this motion.
I can certainly speak for it if the law requires us to change it, and if the payroll isn't in alignment with what's written from prior documentation, then we need to adapt. So.
Thank you. Speaking against this. Hearing none. Public comments, please. Any comments from the public? I guess not. Then I call for a vote.
Okay, John stepped out, so I'm going to take the vote. Mike Helligy,
Yes.
Mark Dixon,
Yes.
Shayna Faber,
Yes.
Heather Forshee,
Yes.
Sarah Fraser,
Yes.
Jennifer Gonzalez,
Yes.
Michael Marylander,
Yes.
Bernadette Murray,
Yes.
Stephanie Powell,
Yes.
and Martha Sofer,
Yes.
Jeff Foreman.
Yes. And the motion carries.
Thank you, Charla. I'm back.
Oh,
And
great,
now
thank you.
it's time for us to go to closed session. So does everyone remember how to do that? All right. So, John, how long until the closed session shall start?
I believe we discussed the closed session is scheduled to last at least 30 minutes. If it ends early, we will still not resume the open session until at least 30 minutes have passed. If closed session takes longer than 30 minutes or we need additional time for technical reasons, we will resume the open session when we are ready. Staff and others should be able to stay in this open session meeting while the board holds the closed session. The hotel technician will keep this meeting running if possible. If there are any problems with that, we encourage people to try to join after the 30 minutes have passed.
Thank you.
See you in the closed session.
So Whitney, so, okay.
Go ahead, Bernadette, you have a question?
I just wanted to confirm what 30 minutes is with Jeff.
11:04 or 11:04 is what I have.
Okay, so that, okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And John,
Amos.
there may be a need for an additional staff member to join a section of the closed session. I'm trying to get a hold of that staff member.
Okay, well, you can contact me by phone. Thank you.
Okay,